welcome to Fish on Fridays. I'm Al McCauley. Today I want to talk to you about a saint who died much too young. I'm talking about an early church martyr known as Saint Tarcisius, and he is considered the patron saint of First Communion. Now let's back up again a little bit and see why. He's going to die in the year 275, so you get an idea of when he lived, and it was a time, unfortunately, of persecution, of Roman persecution against Christians. And the story is that Tarcisius was an altar server, and he, after a mass, was entrusted with the Blessed Sacrament to take in a pouch to the prison where other Christian men were being held, and they were going to be executed. And the thought was, if a boy would take the Eucharist to them, the Roman soldiers wouldn't stop or ask questions the way they would maybe a grown man. So the thought was that he could take the Blessed Sacrament to these prisoners and give them that comfort of the sacrament prior to being executed. Well, on the way to the prison, he was accosted by several young men who were pagans. They were not Christians, and they were bigger than he was, older than he was, and they wanted to know what he was holding in this little satchel that he had. And he didn't want to tell them, and he didn't want to show them because he knew that they were pagans, and he was afraid that they were going to desecrate the host. And so he refused to tell them or show them what it was. And so they fell on him. They started to beat him up, and they kept beating him, and he would not give up. He had to protect the host at all costs. Well, unfortunately, their beatings became so severe that they eventually killed him. And when they turned him over, it said that when they looked in the pouch, there was nothing there, that it had vanished, that it was taken up to heaven perhaps. But the reality is they were not going to get the host to desecrate. We're told that his body was picked up and was taken down to one of the catacombs where he was buried in Rome. And since then, his relics have been moved into a more prominent position into a cathedral in Rome. But he remains, Tarcisius remains as an example to all of us about reverence for the host, for the Blessed Sacrament. When I go to Mass, do I prepare myself for what I'm to receive? The body, blood, soul, and divinity of Jesus. Am I preparing myself for that? And as importantly, if not more, when I leave, am I living that reality? Am I taking Christ out into the world, into the mission fields where I go? It's not just meant to stay inside of me without effecting some change. How am I now becoming the body of Christ to others that I interact with in my families, at my workplace, in my schools, in my little corners of the world? So it's an important thing to think about. But here's a 12-year-old witness to the importance, the sacredness of the Eucharist, and he will be forever linked to that because of his singular act of heroism and bravery. So Saint Tarcisius is a wonderful person to think about, to remember. He's the patron saint of people who are receiving First Communion. He's also a patron saint of altar servers. So if you know or love somebody who is an altar server or going to receive their First Communion or recently has, perhaps you want to share this video with them. But either way, we're grateful that you tune in every Friday for Fish on Fridays. We'd love it if you would subscribe to our YouTube channel, maybe follow us on Facebook. But either way, again, please keep tuning in. Until next time, please be good to each other, and God bless.